Chapter 778. The Second Beast Tide. What exactly is the whisper that Bai Li Pang Pang heard? Is it that mat? What kind of thing is that? Why does it possess the power of the amplification forbidden ruins? What kind of connection does it have with Bai Li Pang Pang? Why did Bai Li Pang Pang lose his memory after entering the palace at the end of the Aurora River? What exactly happened in that palace? One question after another surfaced in Lin Chiye's mind. At this moment he recalled the half-truth, half-lie prophecy given by the martial goddess. At the end of the Aurora River sits a supreme existence that only exists in the past and future. Perhaps there is a great secret hidden behind this matter? The Bai Li Pang Pang in Lin Chiye's eyes suddenly became somewhat unfathomable. As the few of them spoke, the cloud somersault had already broken through the misty walls and entered the territory of the Great Xia. The white clouds floated leisurely in the azure sky. The oppressive and gray mist completely vanished, replaced by an indescribable sense of freedom. Everyone took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. "We're back," Chao Yuan couldn't help but speak. And Qing Yu lowered her head, looking at the shimmering sea surface beneath the clouds and thoughtfully said, "It should be near the East Sea? It shouldn't deviate too much from our expected route. Let's fly in that direction. As long as we find land, we can determine the location of the capital city." Mist. Somewhere hundreds of kilometers from the Great Xia border. A desolate island full of gray-brown rocks suddenly trembled violently, and the surrounding sea began to ripple, stirring up waves of turbulent waters. In the center of the island, a gray peak shook as the island swayed, dropping small fragments of stone. The gray of the mountain gradually faded as the stones rolled down, exposing large patches of dark red feathers. Beneath the dark clouds, a giant dark red bird, the size of a mountain, stood up from the mountain body and slowly spread its wings. Those wings, like a pair of fans blocking the sky, cast the entire island into shadow. An endless hurricane mixed with a tsunami surrounded the island, and the long, sacred bird raised its head, its eyes as black as ink. It stood there with its wings spread, towering over the island's peak, quietly gazing in the direction of the Great Xia through the stormy mist. If a night watchman were to witness this scene, they would instantly recognize its identity. Divine Being number 053, Indian deity, Garuda. "The fated stars flicker with bloody light," it murmured. "As predicted by Brahma, the fate of this nation has shown a flaw. The long-accumulated second disaster is about to descend." It turned its gaze toward the distant sea, its black eyes seeming to pierce through endless voids, landing on the endless beast tide beyond the Great Xia border. "Chimera, it's time for you to act," Garuda said lightly. Its voice drifted through space, directly reaching the roaring beast tide above. The moment the sound was heard, all the mysterious roars gathered at the Great Xia border abruptly ceased, and the world fell into a dead silence. Their bodies began to tremble uncontrollably, fearfully looking around as if searching for something. At that moment, the deep sea beneath the beast tide suddenly began to churn violently. Towering waves surged from the sea, nearly touching the ink-black clouds, and the sound of crashing waves echoed like thunder. Something from the seabed was about to emerge. Boom! A loud sound erupted from the sea surface, and amidst the white waves, a giant beast over 200 meters tall stood firmly at the center of the beast tide. It was a colossal monster that combined the heads of a lion, the body of a goat and the tail of a serpent, with the lion's head roaring high. From the back of the goat's body, a terrifying goat head protruded from the bone seams as if sewn on. On its serpent tail, there was also a venomous snake's head, flicking its crimson tongue. It resembled a monster stitched together from three beasts, exuding a terrifying power that sent chills down one's spine. The moment it appeared, nearly 1,000 mysterious beings gathered around it simultaneously knelt down, not daring to resist in the slightest. The aura emanating from this stitched monster was that of the progenitor of all demonic creatures and evil beasts, completely suppressing their movements. Yet this seemingly invincible monster bore a deep sword scar on its goat body, penetrating nearly 2/3 of its body, through which one could even see its flesh and internal organs. "You don't need to remind me," the lion head of Chimera spoke in a deep voice. "My affairs are not for you, an Indian god, to dictate." "Oh. So this watchdog of Olympus can also observe the trajectory of fate." Garuda's voice dripped with sarcasm. "Chimera, You are merely a tool that controls these inferior beasts with your filthy bloodline. If it weren't for the need for you to command this beast tide, you would have already become a corpse the first time you howled in front of me. Roar. Chimera's 3 heads simultaneously glared in Garuda's direction, growling in anger. Birdman, do you really think you can defeat me? Garuda's black eyes glanced at the sword scar on Chimera, sneering, just a stray dog whose life was halved by Nyx's sword. I could tear you apart with one hand. You. Chimera's fur bristled and both the lion and goat heads displayed fury. Just as it was about to act, the snake head coiled around its tail opened its mouth, looking at the other 2 heads and flicking its tongue for a moment as if trying to persuade them. After a long while, the anger in the lion head's eyes gradually subsided. It turned to look in the direction of the great Xia and coldly said, After this beast tide ends, I will have a death match with you. For now we must focus on the main task. Its gaze swept over the thousands of mysterious beings kneeling beneath it. The lion head, goat head and snake head roared simultaneously, and a thunderous sound echoed in the air. Centered around it, a surging tidal wave began to brew. At the same time, the thousands of mysterious beings kneeling before it seemed to receive some special guidance, standing up from the waves and roaring together. Their eyes glowed with a crimson hue. Under Chimera's urging, these thousands of mysterious beings turned in unison, riding the surging tidal wave, racing toward the direction of the Great Xia. This wave, symbolizing disaster and destruction, was accurately rushing toward the direction of the Shenlong Pass. Chapter 779, Racing Against Time. The Great Xia. At the Shenlong Pass. Inside the unfinished steel fortress, a group of people was bustling around the collapsing communication tower, while the night watchman and the military stationed there conducted their daily inspections in an orderly manner. In the entire construction progress of Shenlong Pass, the outermost steel walls were the first to be completed, followed by over 400 hot weapons storage and installation points in the middle layer, and then the core management areas like the central control room. So far, only 10% of the internal area was still under construction. Once this final 10% is completed, Shenlong Pass can officially be put into use, activating war mode, and becoming the frontline war fortress of the Great Xia in the East Sea. Lu Qiu stood atop the steel wall, overlooking the communication tower still under repair. For some reason he felt a vague sense of unease in his heart. He turned around and, through the binoculars in his hand, gazed at the rolling misty border in the distance. It shouldn't be this coincidental, right? Lu Qiu stood there for a long time putting down the binoculars. Just as he let out a long breath and adjusted his mindset, a thunderous explosion erupted from the distant misty border. Lu Qiu's pupils constricted sharply. He quickly grabbed the binoculars again and looked toward the misty border, only to see countless tiny black dots bursting forth from the invisible wall of mist, racing across the sea at an astonishing speed, surging toward them like a tidal wave. Behind them was a towering wave hundreds of meters high. This giant wave loomed like a massive hand blocking out the sun, completely drowning the clear sky above, and everything around fell into darkness. That is, Lu Qiu stared at the countless black dots surging with the giant wave, his face filled with horror. A beast tide. Another beast tide. Without a moment's hesitation, Lu Qiu instantly picked up the intercom and shouted into Shenlong Pass. A large-scale, mysterious wave has appeared at the misty border directly ahead. It is rapidly approaching us. The mysterious continues to emerge from the mist in an endless stream, and its total number is incalculable. It is likely to be another disaster-level beast tide. All personnel enter a state of Level 1 alert. His voice echoed within Shenlong Pass, and everyone busy inside froze simultaneously, their eyes filled with disbelief. How could this be possible? The second disaster-level beast tide has really come? At this moment the expert standing among the crowd turned pale. He never expected that what he had just said 2 hours ago about it being too coincidental would be instantly contradicted. But no matter how he thought about it, he couldn't understand why, after such a long time since the first beast tide, it would attack just when Shenlong Pass was in trouble. Lu Qiu could no longer afford to think about that. A green light burst forth from his body, and he transformed into a shadow, leaping directly down from the 100-meter-high wall, darting toward Shenlong Pass like a startled swan. Fangzue, how's the repair of the communication tower going? Lucio landed on the ground and anxiously asked the nearby night watchman. Not yet. Fangzue understood how dire the situation was and replied solemnly, it's only been 2 hours since we started the repairs. It's simply not enough to restore communication. Damn it. Lucio glanced at the gradually darkening sky in the distance and cursed. Did these outer gods time their arrival perfectly? What should we do now? Fangzue frowned and asked. Without communication there's no signal in this sea area. We can't even relay information to headquarters. Currently, Shenlong Pass is still under construction and lacks combat capability. If Shenlong Pass cannot serve its purpose of early warning, won't the situation from half a year ago just repeat itself? Lucio's expression was extremely grim. With our current combat strength and the hot weapon reserves within Shenlong Pass, how much time can we delay at most? Fangzue thought for a moment and said, the night watchmen of the Great Xia are already few. If we draw some from here and distribute them to the 12 unfinished A-level war fortresses, each fortress would only have 5 to 6 night watchmen on average. Facing a beast tide of this scale, we simply lack the capability for direct combat. Relying on the military's hot weapon reserves and the defensive power of Shenlong Pass, we can delay at most 4 minutes. Adding the time it takes for the beast tide to travel from the misty border to here, that makes a total of 5 minutes. Lucio glanced at the time, his eyes flashing with determination. Shenlong Pass is about 360 kilometers from the edge of the signal coverage along the Great Xia coast. Even if I set off from Shenlong Pass now and use Ghost God Guidance to overdraw my potential, it would still take at least 4.5 minutes to cover that distance. Moreover, even if I enter the signal coverage area and send a message to headquarters, it would take a long time to mobilize personnel to come here. When you calculate it, there simply isn't enough time. Lucio paused for a moment before shifting his tone. But what if I head north? North? Fangzue was taken aback. You mean? As long as I fly another 320 kilometers north, I will reach the Great Xia's A010 war fortress. Slaughtering Flood Dragon. Lucio's eyes grew brighter. The communication equipment at Slaughtering Flood Dragon can operate normally. As long as I reach Slaughtering Flood Dragon, not only can I relay the situation back to the Great Xia immediately, but they can also quickly send reinforcements to Shenlong Pass. This is the best solution we have right now. Fangzue opened his mouth. But if you use Ghost God Guidance, you will? Now is not the time to discuss that. Lucio took a deep breath, pulled out a shiny emblem from his pocket, and held it tightly in his hand, a resolute look flashing in his eyes. If Shenlong Pass falls, we both know the consequences. Since the Great Xia has built these fortresses, they must fulfill their intended purpose. Among the night watchmen stationed here, I am the fastest. Only I can relay the situation of Shenlong Pass in the shortest time possible, and as the temporary commander of this fortress, I bear the mission of sharing its fate. Fangzue, if Shenlong Pass holds out, when I return please check on Yuzu for me. I haven't been home for half a year and he's just entering his rebellious phase. If I find he's gone astray, you need to help bring him back on track. Fangzue opened his mouth and after a long pause, he sighed helplessly and nodded firmly. All right. Lucio closed his eyes, his fingertip brushed against the emblem, and a tiny needle shot out, piercing into his palm. Lucio's body trembled and his entire being surged with power. He opened his eyes, a blinding green light erupting around him. He stomped his feet on the ground, transforming into a fleeting shadow, disappearing into the horizon. Fangzue watched him leave, a hint of sorrow flashing in his eyes, but he quickly suppressed that emotion, adjusted his mindset and calmly commanded. Everyone, immediately head to the walls of Shenlong Pass. Chapter 780. Point me in the right direction. On the azure sea, a gentle breeze brushed by. A reflection of a white cloud flashed across the surface of the sea, leaving a long streak in the clear sky as it sped towards a certain direction. Lin Chia, who was controlling the cloud somersault, seemed to sense something and looked towards a certain direction, a look of confusion appearing in his eyes. What's wrong, Chia? Asked Jiawan, who was sitting beside him. Over there, someone flew past. Lin Chia extended his hand, pointing to the distant sky where a streak of blue light suddenly dashed across the sea, heading north. Whoa, flying that fast. Bai Li Peng Peng squinted, raising an eyebrow. Are they being chased? Doesn't seem like it. That person is wearing a dark red cloak. They should be a night watchman. Night watchman? And Qingyu asked in confusion. Aren't night watchmen supposed to be stationed in their respective cities? We're still quite far from the coastline and there's nothing around in the sea. How could a night watchman appear here? Why not go up and ask? Bai Li Peng Peng suggested. Anyway, their speed isn't as fast as Chie's cloud. We can stop them and ask for directions to Shangjing City, saving us a lot of time. Lin Chie nodded. Peng Peng is right. If we can find out the direction to Shangjing City, it would indeed save us a lot of detours. Lin Chie looked in the direction where the blue light had disappeared, gently waved his hand, and the cloud somersault immediately changed direction, speeding towards the other party. In Lu Chio's eyes, a series of menacing blood vessels had already appeared. Under the effect of ghost god induction, his own potential had been completely exhausted, and his realm had skyrocketed from C to immeasurable, with his speed increasing several times. This was his first time, and also his last time reaching such an astonishing speed. The howling wind roared past Lu Chio's ears like the blade of winter, reddening his face. At this moment only one thought remained in his mind. Faster. 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 The faster he went, the more time the night watchman had to react, and the greater the chance of defending Shenlong Pass. He bore not only the lives of everyone at Shenlong Pass but also the lives of millions living in the coastal cities of Daxia. This responsibility was too heavy, even with the ghost god induction. His shoulders felt like they could barely bear it. But he had no choice. Lu Chio raced northward, his figure reaching its peak speed. All he could see was the endless horizon of the sea, yearning for the moment when a magnificent steel fortress would appear before his eyes. So much so that he didn't even notice a white cloud had flown beside him, keeping pace as they headed north. Hey! A voice came from the white cloud beside him. Hearing this voice, Lu Chio was taken aback. He instinctively turned his head to the side and his mouth fell open uncontrollably. He saw 7 figures on the white cloud, all wearing masks, staring at him in unison. Sun Wukong, Zhu Beiji, Sha Xing, Tang Xing, Hong Haier, the white fox, and a faceless girl floating in midair. Lu Chio's first reaction was that he had been stimulated into a hallucination. Damn it. Journey to the West characters have appeared. The effect of this ghost god induction is too strong, right? Just as Lu Chio was about to slap himself to wake up, the Zhu Beiji on the white cloud shouted again. You're a night watchman too, right? Which team are you from? Don't fly so fast. Come chat on our cloud somersault. We're colleagues. Crazy. This world has gone mad. Zhu Beiji is even calling himself a colleague. Could they also be night watchmen? Thinking of this, Lu Chio suddenly froze. Night watchman. Journey to the West masks. Special team. Why does this sound so familiar? It seems that a special team wearing Journey to the West masks did appear a couple of years ago, but weren't they missing? Bro, don't run. We're really not bad guys. Have you heard of the 5th special team? Bai Li Peng Peng pulled out his emblem from his pocket and waved it in the wind. We are the 5th special team. Nightfall, got it? The 5th special team. Lu Chio's pupils constricted sharply. He quickly came back to his senses, staring in shock at this group of cloud-riding Journey to the West characters. You are the 5th special team? Who among you is Lin Chie? I am. The figure wearing the Sun Wukong mask raised his hand. I am Lin Chie. He is Lin Chie. The legendary Lin Chie. They really are the 5th special team. Hurry. Lu Chio seemed to think of something and spoke excitedly. Quick. Go to Shenlong Pass. The second beast tide has already begun. Our communication devices have been destroyed and we can't send out information. I must go to Tujiao Pass. My time is running out. Please. You must defend Shenlong Pass. Otherwise the scene from half a year ago will happen again. Cough cough cough. After shouting a few urgent words, Lu Chio suddenly began to cough violently, his face turning pale. A gray glint flashed in Qinyu's eyes and his brows furrowed. You used ghost god induction? He asked. Upon hearing the words ghost god induction, the members of the Nightfall team changed their expressions simultaneously. They certainly knew what ghost god induction was and understood its side effects, which was death. But they didn't understand what Lu Chio meant. What kind of information required him to risk death to convey it urgently? What is Shenlong Pass? What is Tujiao Pass? What is the second beast tide? Hurry! Lu Qiu saw that the few of them were slow to react, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth as he urgently shouted, "If we don't go now, it will be too late." "I'll confirm." Under the Sun Wukong mask, Lin Chia's expression was unusually serious. He calmly analyzed. "You come from a place called Shenlong Pass, which is very important. If it falls, it will lead to consequences as dire as something that happened half a year ago. Your current goal is to convey the so-called second beast tide information to another place called Tujiao Pass, right?" Although Lin Chia didn't know the situation in Daxia, he quickly distilled the key points and the general logical relationship from Lu Qiu's earlier words. Lu Qiu was taken aback. Yes. Only then did Lu Qiu realize that the special team that had disappeared for more than 2 years might not know the background of all this. "What is your name?" "My name is Lu Qiu, the vice-captain of the original 066 Night Watchman team, now the temporary commander of Shenlong Pass." "I understand, Vice-Captain Lu." Lin Chia stood up, 2 golden flames igniting in his eyes, a shadow of night spreading from his coat, quickly dyeing the entire sky. "Where is Shenlong Pass? Point me in the right direction." Chapter 781. Mission accomplished. Qinglong Pass. The sky was completely obscured by a massive wave, and beneath its enormous shadow, an endless horde of mysteries roared as they surged toward the towering black city wall. Feng Zue and the others stood at the top of the city wall, their dark red cloaks soaked by seawater. He rested his hand on the hilt of the straight sword at his waist, unconsciously rubbing the grip as his mind raced. "They're coming," Feng Zue murmured to himself. Thousands of mysteries, with their mixed realm pressure alone, were enough to suffocate everyone within Qinglong Pass. Combined with the towering waves and the thunderous, continuous roars, it felt as if the end of the world had arrived at Qinglong Pass. Amidst the storm, Feng Zue picked up the walkie-talkie in his other hand and spoke calmly. "Activate the Qinglong firepower defense line." As soon as he finished speaking, heavy steel plates retracted into the massive black iron city wall. The entire wall resembled a beehive, with large black holes appearing in an orderly fashion across its surface. Immediately, cannon barrels extended from these holes, densely standing on the surface of the iron wall, their muzzles turning to face the direction of the overwhelming beast tide. Boom, 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 boom. Blinding, concentrated flashes of fire erupted from the beehive cannons, and countless artillery pieces formed a seamless net that instantly covered the entire sky, illuminating the dark sea below. Ordinary small arms such as guns and grenades found it difficult to affect high realm mysteries, at most only able to deal with weaker mysteries below the Chuan realm. However, heavy weaponry was different. With its immense explosive power, it could inflict damage on mysteries of the Chuan realm and even some of the high realm. With a sufficient number of heavy weapons, it could even pose a threat to Wuliang. As an A-class stronghold of the Great Xia, Qinglong Pass was equipped with a total of 78,000 heavy artillery pieces. With such a terrifying number, it could achieve true all-angle fire coverage. In the case of concentrated and precise bombardment, it could even kill a Wuliang-level mystery within 10 seconds. These A-class war strongholds represented the pinnacle of the Great Xia's technological military power. As the sky was woven with a net of artillery fire, the rushing beast tide still had blood-red eyes, fixated on the black stronghold ahead. They charged toward the artillery defense line fearlessly, as if they had completely lost their minds, with even the low-realm cannon fodder at the front showing no signs of hesitation. Thousands of mysteries, like madmen. The dense artillery mercilessly bombarded the foremost mysteries, the continuous explosions mingling with their roars, echoing amidst the towering waves. Firelight, blood, and corpses. The sea in front of Qinglong Pass quickly turned blood-red. Feng Zue and several other sentinels stood at the forefront of the city wall, the buzzing sound of the cannons ringing painfully in their ears. The rain of blood mixed with the salty seawater fell upon them, merging with their dark red cloaks, leaving no trace. "Have they gone mad?" a young sentinel asked, watching the crazed, fearless mysteries. "They have indeed gone mad," Feng Zue frowned and replied. "Every creature has its instincts. In the face of life and death, Their instincts should evoke fear or anxiety. Yet these mysteries show no signs of hesitation. Their instincts have been erased by someone. Now they are merely a group of ruthless machines that know only how to kill. Is it the work of those outer gods? Where are they hiding? Do we even need to ask? They must be lurking in some corner outside the Great Xia, secretly observing the situation here. How disgusting. If they have the ability, why don't they charge directly into the Great Xia? They dare not. Fang's would turn to look toward the land of Great Xia. At least they do not dare in the short term. Boom. Amidst the vast beast tide, several Klein-level giant beasts suddenly emerged. They stood in the blood-red waves, opening their mouths to unleash thunder and flames at the black city wall where the sentinels stood, instantly breaking through the artillery defense line and crashing into the wall. A violent explosion roared. The sentinels quickly scattered, landing at different points along the wall. Fang's would turn to look at the black wall which had been blasted open, his expression growing increasingly grave. After this firepower gap was created, one mystery, after another, using the corpses of their companions as shields, forced their way to the base of the wall. Various strange forbidden ruins opened up, beginning to guide the subsequent mysteries forward while tearing at the surface of the black wall. A large number of artillery pieces were destroyed, shattering into fragments that scattered across the blood-soaked sea. Given the current frenzied momentum of these mysteries, it would be difficult for this stronghold to hold out for the expected 4 minutes. I wonder if Lucio has reached Tujiao Pass and transmitted the information? 320 kilometers north of Chenglong Pass. A blue light streaked across the sky, wobbling as it rushed toward the massive stronghold standing amidst the waves. The moment the silver-white steel stronghold came into view, a hint of joy appeared on Lucio's pale face. The forbidden ruins within him operated frantically, squeezing out the last bit of his life force to speed toward it. That was the A010 war stronghold of the Great Xia, Tujiao. Unidentified flying object spotted to the south. Repeat, unidentified flying object spotted to the south. Inside Tujiao Pass, a soldier constantly monitoring the surrounding sea noticed the blue light and immediately raised his walkie-talkie to report. Unauthorized, prepare to initiate aerial interception. I am Lucio, a sentinel of the Great Xia. Before the voice on the other end could finish, a loud shout echoed from the sky. Driven by the forbidden ruins, this voice covered nearly the entire Tujiao Pass. Everyone inside Tujiao Pass was taken aback. Lucio took a deep breath, using all his strength to continue shouting. The second disaster-level beast tide is coming. The second disaster-level beast tide is coming. The communication system of Chenglong Pass has been destroyed. Unable to transmit messages to headquarters. Please, Tujiao Pass, send a message immediately to notify headquarters to prepare for the second disaster-level beast tide. Lastly, I ask all comrades in Tujiao Pass to rescue Chenglong Pass. After uttering the last word, the breath Lucio had forced out suddenly became chaotic. His exhausted life force had reached its limit, and he uncontrollably fell toward the sea near Tujiao Pass. As his consciousness faded like a receding tide, he gazed dreamily at the rapidly enlarging sea below, his eyes slowly closing, yet a smile appeared on his face. His mission was complete. Chapter 782, The Missing Team. Chenglong Pass. The towering waves danced wildly, like a massive hand formed from the ocean, crashing heavily against the shattered steel city walls that had been ravaged by numerous mysterious attacks. With a thunderous roar, the wall that had been holding back the beast tide completely collapsed, and the number of cannons in this direction was instantly reduced by a third. Coupled with the beast tide being too close to Chenglong Pass, the firepower coverage had essentially lost its effectiveness. The beast tide had already surged to the foot of Chenglong Pass. In the end, we couldn't hold out for 4 minutes. Fang Zhuo glanced at his pocket watch, a bitter smile appearing at the corner of his mouth. He tucked the watch back into his cloak and slowly drew the straight sword from his waist. Clay. The crisp sound of the blade being unsheathed seemed weak amidst the endless roars of the giant beasts. 4 night watchmen draped in dark red cloaks stood atop the crumbling wall, appearing as insignificant as ants before the towering mysterious entities that reached dozens or even hundreds of meters high. With the wall gone, these 4 night watchmen along with the soldiers gathered behind them, became the last line of defense for this pass. It seems it's time for us to shine, Fongzwa said, pulling out a shiny emblem from his pocket and gently rubbing it in his palm. I hope that after using this I can hold out for 6 seconds in the beast tide. 6 seconds? That's too quick, laughed another night watchman beside him. I can last 8 seconds. I can last 9 seconds. Is that all you can do? I'll hold out until the end, even if I have to die standing, I won't let them through. Cut it out, anyone can talk big. If you really can last until the end, I'll be reborn as your son in my next life. You said it. Amidst the raging storm, the 4 night watchmen held their straight swords and emblems, joking and bantering like a group of neighborhood boys. Roar. The roar of the giant beasts came right before them and their smiles gradually faded. They looked at the emblems in their hands, feeling sacred and devout. Taking a deep breath, they flicked the fine needle from the emblem and slowly began to speak. If the dark night descends. Whoosh. Before the second sentence could be uttered, the emblems in their hands suddenly trembled and shot out at an astonishing speed, spiraling up into the dim and lifeless sky. The 4 night watchmen stared at their empty palms, exchanging bewildered glances. What's going on? Where's my emblem? Fongzwa raised his head in confusion, letting out a soft gasp. Earlier, the towering waves had obscured the sky, casting everything into darkness, and coupled with the oppressive feeling of facing the beast tide, they hadn't noticed. At some point, the sky had been replaced by a pitch-black curtain of night. It's dark? Just as this thought crossed Fongzwa's mind, suddenly the heavy artillery on the steel outer wall of Chenglong Pass, which had been too close to obstruct the beast tide, also began to float up, spiraling into the dark night sky along with their 4 emblems. Along with them were some small firearms stored within Chenglong Pass. The weapons filled the sky like stars dotting the night, suspended beneath the heavens. In the center of the dark clouds, a white cloud shot out like a startled swan, with 7 figures standing calmly atop it. Among them, a chubby man wearing a Zhu Beiji mask stood on a yin-yang bagua diagram, one hand grasping the air as if he had caught something. This is Chenglong Pass, the chubby man exclaimed in surprise. We've only been gone for 2 years and the Great Xia has already started building coastal fortresses? This indicates that the situation for the Great Xia is quite severe, said a man wearing a Tang Xing mask calmly. Look at these mysterious beings below. They should be the ones that Qi sensed in the mist earlier. If I'm not mistaken, these mysterious entities have been artificially summoned. The outer gods are about to make a move against the Great Xia. No wonder Lu Qiu said that once Chenglong Pass falls, the Great Xia will face a catastrophe. If such a terrifying number of mysterious beings land, the casualties will undoubtedly be severe, said the figure wearing a Sha monk mask. Among the 7, the man wearing a Sun Wukong mask looked down at the crumbling steel pass, his eyes shining like gold. Fortunately, we are back. Under the watchful eyes of the people at Chenglong Pass, the 7 figures leaped down from the clouds, hurtling toward the steel pass that was being devoured by the beast tide at an astonishing speed. You 4 fall back. The figure wearing the Tang Xing mask waved his hand lightly, and invisible threads instantly wrapped around the 4 night watchmen standing at the forefront of the pass, pulling them back. Before Fongzwa and the others could react, they found themselves among the soldiers behind them. Thud 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 thud. The 7 figures landed heavily on the ground, standing shoulder to shoulder atop the crumbling steel walls, as the fierce wind mixed with bloody spray rolled before them. They stood like 7 mountains amidst the storm. This scene left the 4 night watchmen and the surrounding military personnel dumbfounded. Who are they? One night watchman asked in confusion. Wearing masks, could they be the masked team? Not the masked. Their masks are different from the masked. I think so too. They don't seem to be the masked team. They don't have cloaks. Perhaps they aren't even night watchmen. They are night watchmen. Fongzwa pointed at Chao Yuan. Do you see that man wearing the Sha monk mask? He has a night watchman's star knife hanging at his waist. They must be night watchmen. But I've never heard of night watchmen having such a strange team. No. Fongzwa pondered for a moment as if recalling something, his expression gradually becoming excited. There is indeed such a team. They have no records, no names, all wear mysterious Journey to the West masks, and 2 years ago they defeated Team 006 in Beijing, gaining the qualification to be a special team, and then vanished into the clouds, never to return. They are the missing fifth special team. The fifth special team? Hearing this name, the other night watchmen recalled some rumors they had heard before, and their gazes toward the seven figures became fervent. Roar, roar, roar. The dark wave of mysterious beings, amidst endless roars, crashed through the outer steel barrier, directly breaking through the gap and surging toward the core of Chenglong Pass. Their crimson eyes fixated on the seven figures ahead, having lost their instinctive fear, they violently sought to tear them apart. Their roars were deafening. "Is your voice louder?" Chao Yuan muttered, placing his hand on the hilt of the straight sword at his waist, a cold smile curling at the corner of his mouth beneath the mask. Chapter 783, Defending the Chenglong Pass. Clang. A light sound echoed as the straight sword in Chao Yuan's hand was drawn from its sheath. Dark, malevolent flames ignited from Chao Yuan's pupils, intertwining to form a slowly burning, pulsating black royal robe that draped behind him, his eyes blood-red. Madman Chao Yuan opened his mouth and roared fiercely at the tide of beasts surging through the narrow gap. Roar. This roar directly overshadowed the wave of mysterious howls that had broken through the walls, causing the first wave of mysterious to momentarily freeze, confusion appearing on their faces. Before they could regain their senses, Madman Chao Yuan, gripping the straight sword, shot out like an arrow, charging alone into the throng of mysterious, crowded behind the crumbling walls of Chenglong Pass. The outer wall of Chenglong Pass, designed to accommodate heavy weaponry, had been breached, creating a gap about 100 meters wide. At this moment over 1,000 mysterious were madly pushing through this gap, but due to their varying sizes the majority were quite large, meaning it would take some time for them all to pass through. This created a problem. They had to passively condense their formation, moving through the gap in a long line to enter Chenglong Pass. The position of Lin Qier and his 6 companions was right in the center of this narrow gap. This was a steel fortress that was easy to defend but hard to attack. Of course, even though the scale of the beast tide was condensed, resulting in a significantly weakened front line compared to the previous wave, they were still a group of disaster-level entities. It was impossible for Chao Yuan alone to hold this gap. Jialan brushed her fingertips over the black box, and the golden spear Tianke automatically shot out. She grasped the spear's handle, stomped her feet heavily on the ground, and her figure transformed into a deep blue light, following Chao Yuan to the front line of the beast tide. Madman Chao Yuan and the immortal Jialan, one black and one blue, were like 2 iron nails driven into the gap, firmly blocking the surging beast tide, fighting bloodily at the forefront. At the same time the plump Bai Li with his hand hovering in the air, gently flipped it, causing the Yin-Yang Taiji Bakwa diagram beneath his feet to instantly reverse. The countless cannons suspended under the black sky simultaneously aimed at the central area of the beast tide in the gap, an endless barrage of fire and ammunition pouring down from the sky, like a precise and dense curtain of fire, gathering the scattered cannons on the city wall to deliver a massive fire strike. This area of fire coverage, nearly 10 times denser than before, greatly slowed the speed at which the subsequent beast tide entered the gap, creating a hard division between the tide entering the gap and those still outside. And Qingyu, Shin Qingzhu and Jiang Er moved simultaneously. And Qingyu, carrying the black coffin, clapped his hands against the ground, and icy frost vines surged from beneath his feet, like fierce venomous snakes, weaving through the figures of Chao Yuan and Jialan, crashing into the dense mass of beasts spreading frost everywhere. These frosts coalesced into a frozen ground around the beast tide, slowing their advance. Whenever a mysterious broke the vines, large amounts of purple mist would erupt from within the vines. Any mysterious that touched this purple mist would begin to show spots on their bodies, swaying as if drunk, looking extremely bizarre. Snap. A crisp sound echoed as the purple mist was confined and compressed by the surrounding air, rapidly extending outward along the gap, quickly covering the entire pass. Shin Qingzhu calmly observed this scene, lightly snapping his fingers again. The air within the purple mist was detonated by him, and a surging fire instantly covered 2/3 of the pass, trapping a large number of mysterious within. At that moment several Klein-level mysterious roared out from the beast tide, breaking through the flames, purple mist and rain of bullets, directly charging towards the black and blue figures, deep red lightning brewing in front of one of the mysterious. A blurred white figure easily passed through the beast tide and crashed into its body. Jiang Air. As the white figure crashed into its body, in that instant the Klein-level Mysterious felt it had lost control over its body. It suddenly turned around and the deep red lightning it had been brewing shot out, accurately striking another Klein-level Mysterious. The lightning danced, exploding and obliterating, turning that entire group of Mysterious into clouds of dust, dissipating into the air. The giant beast's pupils constricted sharply, and under the intense emotional turmoil, Jiang Air was forcibly ejected from its body. But at that moment, Jialan and Madman Chao Yuan had already charged to its front, a golden beam mixed with surging malevolent flames engulfing it completely. Behind them, Lin Chia's gaze swept over the chaotic gap in the pass, landing directly on the massive tide of beasts gathering outside the walls, madly pushing into the city. His eyes narrowed slightly. Although the other members of the Nightfall team had effectively held the pass, that was under the condition that the large beast tide outside Shenlong Pass had not yet broken in. As the number of beasts gathering outside continued to increase, the gap in the outer wall would rapidly widen, and the formation of the beast tide would return to its original state. At that point, this narrow geographical advantage would vanish. Once the geographical advantage was lost, it would be even harder to hold Shenlong Pass. Lin Chia's mind raced as he thought quickly, and after a moment he devised a countermeasure. He extended his hand, gently placing it on his chest, and sincerely exclaimed, "Praise the god of magic." In the next moment, a figure draped in a blue robe holding a staff appeared behind him, slowly merging with his body. Soul-bearing. His eyes became deep as a chasm, each twinkling star slicing through the darkness of his gaze, as if able to see through the trajectory of fate. His black hair turned snow-white at a visible speed, fluttering in the wind, while at the same time, a deep blue magical robe coalesced behind him, giving him an extraordinarily mysterious aura. A rich magical aura rapidly spread out from him. His realm soared. He stepped across the threshold of the Wuliang realm, his mental power skyrocketing at an astonishing rate, instantly reaching the peak bottleneck of the Wuliang realm. With a light sound, his body transcended once more, successfully stepping into the Klein realm. After 2.5 years, Lin Chia used soul-bearing for the first time, merging with Merlin. That familiar feeling resurfaced in Lin Chia's heart. In his mind, the words Merlin once told him echoed. A magician excels at positional warfare. Chapter 784. Magical Fortress. The Great Xia. Above the Jilin Pass, a helicopter swiftly swept across the sky. Sui Qing, draped in a dark red cloak, sat by the window, looking down at the magnificent steel fortress below. "How is the construction progress of the Jilin Pass?" Sui Qing turned and asked. "It's basically completed. Only the last section of the living quarters is still under construction, expected to be finished within 2 months, Chen Moyu replied. The progress of the other 11 A-class war fortresses is also about the same. Sui Qing nodded. Next, our primary task is to address the manpower shortage. Sui Qing's eyes glimmered with a faint light. Although we have these 12 A-class war fortresses, the number of personnel we can mobilize to guard them is too few. We don't need to worry about the military side, but the number of night watchers is inherently very limited. To mobilize more people to guard the war fortresses, we must draw from the night watcher teams across various regions. Chen Moyu responded, "Commander Zhou, as per your instructions, I've compiled the statistics. After the recruitment expansions for new night watchers last year and the year before, the number of night watchers in Great Xia has increased from 1,992 to 2,709. However, nearly 1/3 of these over 2,000 are new recruits from the past 2 years. If we draw a large number of veterans from the night watcher teams nationwide as originally planned, it will lead to a decline in the experience and age of the station night watchers, weakening the combat effectiveness of the station teams." "That's unavoidable," Sui Qing said calmly. "The current situation in Great Xia is very special. The importance of the war fortresses goes without saying. Except for a few exceptionally talented new recruits, if other new recruits are sent to the war fortresses, it will only result in unnecessary sacrifices. They are still too young and need to grow and hone their skills in the rear to become the backbone of Great Xia. The front lines must be guarded by veterans. Suiqing paused for a moment and continued. Of course, the decline in combat effectiveness of the Night Watcher team stationed in various cities after the veterans leave is indeed a serious problem, but there are ways to compensate for it. What methods? To help the new recruits grow rapidly in a short time. Of course, I'm not talking about their realms and strength, but their experience and mindset, Suiqing said seriously. The simplest and most direct way to achieve this is to improve the training quality of the new recruit training camps. Adversity and setbacks are the best environments for rapid growth. Our previous training schedules and intensity for the new recruit training camps were still too lenient, and the management methods were not strict enough. In this special period, to help this group of rookies grow as quickly as possible, we must use special measures. And these special measures cannot be accomplished solely by the instructors. Before Suiqing could finish, his phone rang. He answered the call, and moments later his expression changed dramatically. I understand. Quickly notify all the top human experts and special teams to rush to the battlefield at the fastest speed. Suiqing's voice was extremely serious. He paused and added, also inform Wang Mian to prepare for another time jump. Suiqing hung up the phone, his face grave. What happened? Qin Moyu noticed Suiqing's change and frowned. A second disaster-level beast tide has appeared, Suiqing said in a deep voice. Moreover, the communication tower within the Qinlong Pass was destroyed by an unknown enemy, preventing the information from being sent out in time. This news was relayed by the temporary head of the Qinlong Pass, who flew to the Tujiao Pass. Qin Moyu was taken aback. Then the time. There's not much time left, Suiqing closed his eyes and calculated. The distance between Qinlong Pass and Tujiao Pass is not short. Even at Sea Realm Night Watcher using full speed would take 5 minutes to arrive. During this time, it would be enough for the disaster-level beast tide to destroy an unfinished war fortress. In other words, in at most 2 more minutes, the beast tide will attack the coastline. Time is too tight. Even the top human experts will find it difficult to arrive on site in time, So you notified Wang Mian to prepare for another time jump? Qin Moyu immediately understood the intent behind Suiqing's command. What should we do now? You continue to head to the Jilin Pass. Suiqing opened the helicopter door, and the howling wind rushed into the cabin, causing Qin Moyu to squint as he looked at the dark red figure standing at the door. No matter how severe the situation is, we cannot give up so easily. Wang Mian's time jump is not without cost. Suiqing's body erupted with a dazzling blue light, his figure becoming blurred. Perhaps we can still make it. If a miracle occurs. He whispered the last sentence, which Qin Moyu did not catch clearly. When he regained his senses, Suiqing had already disappeared into the sky outside the door. Qinlong Pass. In the blood-red sea, mysterious corpses surged. One after another, powerful mysterious creatures charged out from the beast tide, tearing at the breach in the outer wall. As time passed, the breach grew larger, allowing more and more mysterious beings to pass through at once. Within the originally narrow terrain, the pressure on the 6 members of the Nightfall team fighting side by side was rapidly increasing. The larger the breach, the more mysterious beings flooded into Qinlong Pass, and the more difficult it became for Jialan and the frenzied Chao Yuan at the forefront. Their figures gradually became submerged in the massive beast tide, and the wide-area attacks of the others also began to weaken under the overwhelming assault of the beast tide. Where's Qi Yi? Bai Li Pang Pang, controlling the artillery shells, was running low on ammunition. He looked at the increasingly overwhelming waves of mysterious beings with a grave expression. I don't know. I haven't seen him since the fighting started, Shen Qingzhu replied. I saw him. And Qingyu beside them adjusted her glasses and pointed to the crumbling outer wall. He went outside alone. Outside. Bai Li Pang Pang was taken aback, looking up at the outer wall that was about to be completely breached by the beast tide, confusion filling his eyes. What's he doing outside? Boom. As soon as Bai Li Pang Pang finished speaking, under the pitch-black night, in front of the distant city wall filled with breaches and debris, dense magical lights ignited simultaneously, and hundreds of massive magic circles stacked up, rapidly rotating above the surging sea. Various brilliant lights tore through the dark night and the bloody sea, resembling a magnificent and grand magical fortress, suppressing the beast tide at the outer wall. Chapter 785. Summoning the Dragon. Amidst the dazzling and dense array of magic circles, a figure with white hair draped in a deep blue robe stood suspended above the sea. 4,321 magic circles should be enough to hold off for a while. Lin Qia's eyes were deep as a chasm, gazing down at the menacing and dense mysterious waves beneath him, murmuring to himself. Since Bai Li Pangpang and the others joined the battle, Lin Qia had carried Merlin's soul and directly teleported to the front lines of the Shenlong Pass, quietly setting up a magical fortress. The number of beast waves was overwhelming, and with only 7 people, the narrow terrain could indeed help them effectively resist the invasion. However, as time passed, the advantage of the terrain would eventually vanish. Even with Merlin's soul, Lin Qia could not face such a terrifying beast wave alone, even after breaking through to the Klein realm in a short time. All he could do was leverage the initial advantage of the magic circles in a positional battle, creating another wall beyond the outer defenses. That was the magical fortress. This magical fortress acted like a valve, lodged at the throat of the beast wave. As long as the fortress was not breached, the pressure faced by the other 6 behind Lin Qia would significantly decrease, allowing them to delay the beast wave for a longer time. As Lin Qia raised his hand, the 4,321 magic circles floating in the air simultaneously lit up, and endless magic erupted from them, surging like waves against the beast tide. Fireburst Array, Soul Lock Array, Deep Sea Trap, Arcane Hand, Demonic Thorn Jungle. The surrounding sea area instantly transformed into a realm of magic, with various strange magic circles not only reshaping the terrain but also laying down large-scale traps along the beast wave's path. As the high-damage magic circles illuminated, the mysterious creatures at the forefront of the beast wave began to die at an astonishing rate. At the same time, Lin Qia stepped forward, and on the rolling blood-red waves, lush green grass spread rapidly like a wildfire, quickly covering most of the battlefield. Eternal Secret Garden. With each mysterious creature that died, vibrant bouquets would rapidly grow from their corpses, completely draining every drop of life force and mental energy from within them, feeding it back to Lin Qia through the forbidden ruins. Even though Lin Qia had entered the Klein realm by carrying a soul and possessed nearly limitless mental energy reserves, with over 4,000 magic circles operating simultaneously, even the abnormally fast mental energy recovery speed of Klein could not keep up with the consumption rate. Thus, he had to use this method to constantly replenish his mental energy. Whenever he killed a mysterious creature, its soul would be drawn into the divine mental hospital, and its body would be drained to nourish Lin Qia himself. He was like a humanoid demon, consuming all his enemies completely. After Lin Qia took action, the pressure on the members of the Nightfall team behind him was greatly reduced, and the previously precarious situation stabilized once more. Qia is really fierce, Bai Li Pangpang sighed. At the front lines, Jialon, who was embroiled in bloody combat, looked up at the white-haired figure standing before the beast wave, his eyes shining with admiration. Qia is so cool. Degree Nabla degree. Inside Shenlong Pass. This is too strong, right? The 4 night watchmen saved by Lin Qia and others stood together with other military personnel, watching the few figures guarding the front of Shenlong Pass, each capable of holding off thousands, their faces filled with shock. Isn't the 5th Special Team newly established? How can their combat power be so terrifying? Yeah, I heard that 2 years ago, they barely defeated a team from the capital city that hadn't deployed Klein. How did they suddenly become so strong? Where have they been for the past 2 years? Under the admiring gazes of the crowd inside Shenlong Pass, Lin Qia looked down at the beast wave blocked by the magical fortress, his face showing no signs of joy, but rather a more serious expression. He raised his head and gazed toward the rear of the beast wave, his eyes narrowing slightly. He could sense that behind this beast wave several extremely terrifying auras were approaching rapidly. As he had suspected, the arrangement of this beast wave was not random. Most of the mysterious creatures at the forefront were weak and useless, serving entirely as a suicide squad and meat shields. Their purpose was to consume firepower and destroy the city walls. In the middle of the beast wave were numerous Chuan and high realm mysterious creatures, which should be considered the main force of the invasion. Once humanity's firepower was exhausted by the suicide squad, They would open a breach, and only then would the disaster-level beast wave reveal its menacing fangs. Further back were the Klein realm and even Peak Klein mysterious creatures, sitting like generals at the rear, waiting for the chaos to begin and the situation to fully unfold before they would strike with overwhelming force to sweep away all enemies. Although this method of troop arrangement was not particularly sophisticated, it was highly effective, proving that someone was secretly controlling everything behind this disaster-level beast wave. At this moment, Lin Chia's magical fortress suddenly appeared, obstructing the entire beast wave's charge, causing the few terrifying mysterious creatures stationed at the back to finally become restless. Lin Chia could clearly feel that 4 extremely terrifying high-risk mysterious creatures were approaching him at an astonishing speed. 4 of them. This is a bit tricky. Lin Chia showed no signs of fear on his face. He extended his palm and gently pressed into the void above his head, softly saying, "Since that's the case, don't blame me." Swoosh. A super-large summoning magic circle with a radius of over 100 meters rapidly unfolded above Lin Chia's head. Light blue radiance intertwined within the magic circle, gradually rotating as Lin Chia infused his mental energy, a flash of white light illuminating much of the sky. In the next moment, a deafening dragon roar erupted from the magic circle. Roar. The moment the dragon roar sounded, the already turbulent sea began to churn even more violently, and the temperature in the air dropped rapidly, as if plunging into the depths of winter. The mysterious creatures still fighting within the magical fortress suddenly paused, a hint of confusion appearing in their crimson eyes. This dragon roar vaguely awakened their deprived instincts. The instinct of fear. Under the watchful eyes of the people in Shenlong Pass and the Beast Wave, an ice frost giant dragon soared from the magic circle into the sky, its massive wings spread wide, nearly obscuring the entire sky. Chapter 786. One Person, One Dragon. What sound? At the Shenlong Pass in the north, several dark red figures flying at high speed suddenly froze, looking curiously towards the distant direction of Shenlong Pass. Behind them, dozens of combat helicopters loaded with weapons were also rushing towards this direction. The moment the dragon's roar appeared, the helicopters' electronic devices were momentarily disrupted. They were reinforcements who had rushed from Tujiao Pass after receiving Lu Qiu's distress signal. Upon learning about the second disaster-level beast tide, Tujiao Pass immediately relayed the information back to headquarters and dispatched nearly all of their combat strength, hurrying towards Shenlong Pass. The 12 A-level war passes of the Great Xia had not yet been put into use, and Tujiao Pass's combat strength was not much higher than that of Shenlong Pass. Personnel were equally scarce, but even so they still mobilized the few available personnel to assist Shenlong Pass. "It seems like a dragon's roar?" one of the night watchmen exclaimed in shock. How could there be a dragon's roar at Shenlong Pass? Could there be dragon-type creatures invading this time in the beast tide? Oh no. If that's the case, the situation is even more severe than we imagined. Quick. Move faster. Upon hearing the dragon's roar, the faces of the dark red figures changed simultaneously. Gritting their teeth, they pushed their forbidden ruins to the limit and rushed towards the distant Shenlong Pass. Moments later, they saw the situation around Shenlong Pass clearly. They were stunned in place. In the distant waves, an endless and powerful mystery surged forward like a tide, resembling a dark cloud that was approaching the battered steel pass. At the very end of this mystery tide, four extremely terrifying mysteries were rapidly sweeping through the beast tide, charging forward with murderous intent. Between the beast tide and the ruined Shenlong Pass, thousands of brilliant magic circles formed a spectacular magical fortress, like a terrifying magical artillery, using dazzling magic to forcibly block most of the beast tide's advance. This was not what shocked them the most. What shocked them the most was that above the magical fortress, an ancient and powerful giant dragon spread its wings that blocked out the sun, flying beneath the dark clouds. Every time it flapped its wings, endless frost and snow surged forth, and the clouds around it had frozen into chunks of ice, plummeting straight into the sea. Its aura was already infinitely close to the human ceiling. And on the back of this unprecedented terrifying giant dragon, a white-haired figure draped in a deep blue robe stood quietly in the wind, surrounded by several brilliant magic circles radiating mysterious light. In their horrified gaze, the white-haired mage riding the frost giant dragon drew a snow-white long knife from his waist, swirling with terrifying blizzards, and charged headlong into the beast's tide. Roar! The frost giant dragon beneath him suddenly exhaled a snow-white dragon breath. Wherever this extremely cold dragon breath reached, all mysteries were frozen into ice sculptures, shattering into pieces. The sea area in front of Shenlong Pass was freezing at an astonishing speed. A man and a dragon were ruthlessly harvesting mysteries in the beast tide, like a sickle cutting through wheat. At that moment, the 4 powerful mysteries, rushing from the end of the beast tide, had already arrived before the man and the dragon. Their eyes were equally blood-red. Having lost their instinct for fear, they had completely descended into madness. Standing on the back of the frost giant dragon, Lin Chia narrowed his eyes slightly, the fierce wind blowing through his white hair. Gripping the White Slayer, his figure suddenly vanished from space. The frost giant dragon let out a thunderous roar and collided violently with 3 of the mysteries, unleashing endless blizzards that engulfed the forms of those 3 mysteries, creating a realm of frost and snow. In the blizzard, the frost giant dragon simultaneously faced off against 3 terrifying mysteries at the peak of the Klein realm. Outside the blizzard, the last mystery, a white giant tiger with thunderous wings, suddenly narrowed its pupils, keenly sensing the impending killing intent. With a flap of its wings, its form transformed into a bolt of lightning, instantly disappearing from the spot. In the next moment, a flash of snow-white blade light passed through the space where it had just stood, revealing a white-haired figure holding a long knife, a look of surprise appearing in his eyes. Actually dodged? Is this the survival instinct of a beast? Lin Chia's gaze fell on the distant white tiger in the air, which was warily watching him, lost in thought. These 4 mysteries, each possessed the strength of the peak Klein realm, while he was merely relying on his soul's capacity to barely step into Klein. In a direct confrontation, he could not possibly be a match for that white tiger. Fortunately, back in Tokyo, he had summoned the frost giant dragon using the corpse of the thunder beast. Otherwise, with just these 4 mysteries, the beast tide could have directly overwhelmed the entire Shenlong Pass. Now the question was, how should he deal with this white tiger? The reinforcements from Tujiao Pass were completely dumbfounded. They stared blankly at the man and dragon entangled with the 4 peak Klein mysteries, sinking into deep confusion. Wasn't it said that Shenlong Pass was about to be breached? Where did this group of people come from? 7 individuals had actually managed to hold back the disaster-level beast tide, one of whom even boldly rode a dragon into the beast tide, engaging with the 4 peak Klein mysteries. When did the Great Xia have such a team? Should we still go help? One of them said uncertainly. The man referred to as Qingdu fell silent. To be honest, since they dared to come to assist Shenlong Pass amidst the disaster-level beast tide, they had not prepared to return alive. Their strength was not strong enough to survive the beast tide, let alone defend Shenlong Pass. All they could do was use their bodies to buy a little time. But now, it seemed Shenlong Pass didn't really need their help. Qingdu turned his head to look inside Shenlong Pass and immediately spotted several familiar night watchmen, who were also standing behind the city wall in confusion. Let's go. We'll head into Shenlong Pass to see what's going on, Qingdu said after hesitating for a moment, leading the few night watchmen beside him straight towards the battered Shenlong Pass. Seeing these dark red figures from the north, Fang's eyes lit up first, then a bitter smile appeared on his face. Fangzhou, what's going on? Qingdu landed in front of Fangzhou and the others, unable to help but ask, is there a fight at Shenlong Pass? Aren't you going to help? We want to help. Fangzhou helplessly pointed at the 6 figures blocking the gap. But they took all our emblems and straight swords. We can't help at all.